Hey everyone, this is Raquel. I've been an FL Studio user for probably about 12 years. I started back in 2002, I believe in March or February, March, so yeah, 12 years. I was a beta tester for a while, and I learned a lot of things through working with other people and also looking at the online tutorials. So based on everything that I have learned over the years, I wanted to kind of show you a little bit of how I use the software. And I love it personally. I've been using it since it was, before it was called FL Studio, when it was called Fruity Loops. So if you're not familiar with who I am, I've also gone by the name Raquel J, Raquel Joseph. I had written a song a long time ago, I think back in 2004, called My Body. And I believe that that song is still on the FL Studio demo version and full version under the cool stuff folder. I think the older stuff though. So, and also I have another track on there called You Are the One. So yeah, check it out so you know who I am. I've been around for a while. So anyway, let's get this started. I want to play a little snippet of this song for you that I started probably about a week ago. It's called You Want Me. Please don't think I'm giving you any hints. I'm not. But it's a song that's, it means a lot to me. So I'm going to go ahead and press play. You can either, hit play here or press the space bar on your keyboard, which you should know by now. So here we go. And I'm going to show you the playlist too.
I love the way you smile. Oh, baby, I love the way you kiss my lips. Oh, what did you do to me? I can't resist your touch. Don't ever leave me, 'cause I need it again.
So as you can see, these are the vocals down here, all the WAV files, but for this particular project, they're just vocals. Yours truly singing. So we'll go up to where the patterns are placed, and you'll see here's the kick. I don't know if you can see that from here, but it's labeled, each one is labeled kick, lift, snare, hi-hat, bass. It's also guitar, an arpeggio, a little twinkle sound, and a synth sound. I've used many different kinds of plugins for this. I've used Trillion for bass. I have used Isotope Ozone for mastering. I have used Easy Drummer for some of the percussions, and Real Guitar, which is a plugin. Instead of using an actual real guitar. So those are, and also Omnisphere. So those are the different plugins that I'm using here. And then there are some FL Studio native plugins I'm using as well, like bass drum. So anyway, I want to isolate some of the sounds for you. So we'll stop here and we will start from the beginning again, but where the beat kicks in. So right now I have muted everything else and just soloed the kick. And I did that by right-clicking on the, where it says kick, there is a little green light for every single track. And if you just right-click on it, it solos it and mutes everything else. So I'm just going to play you the kick. I got to turn that up. Hopefully you can hear that. Okay, and if you look on this screen over here, you'll see, here it is, like a heartbeat. Okay. Now I want to open up the mixer channel for this particular sound for the kick. What I have on there is a limiter, the FL Studio limiter, and also the Parametric EQ. Now, if you look at the Parametric EQ, I have actually isolated different bands. So I have raised it up near 100 hertz, and I lowered it probably around, I'd say 20, maybe 15, 20 hertz. I'm sorry, 20, no, about 30 hertz. And then I've also lowered the uppers, and I've raised it between 1,000 and 2,000. Okay? The reason why I did this is because I want it to mix well with all the rest of the sounds, which each lie in their own frequency. This is the particular frequency that I wanted for the bass. So now for the limiter, I used compression. So you have a choice of doing the limiter or compression. I chose compression. I put the threshold down to, I believe, about 18 or 19, and the ratio up to 4. That's for the kick drum. Okay, so enough with the kick drum. That's getting annoying right now. Now we'll go to the bass. Hopefully you'll be able to hear this. Whoops. We want the bass, not the whole thing. Sorry. And it's very, very, very loud, so I've got to shut this down. So I have two bass sounds actually. I have one for the lower range and one for the upper range with frequencies. So if you look at the lower range, you'll see I have compression here also, which is pretty much the same as the kick. 4 for the ratio and about 18, 19 for the threshold. And we'll look at the EQ. I also have this isolated. Everything is lowered above 500 hertz. And it's lowered around 100 hertz because I want it to not conflict with the kick drum. Because remember, the kick drum was raised in that area with the frequency. And then it's also lowered below 30. Okay, so that's what it looks like for this particular bass. And then we'll go to the other bass, which is lies in a totally different frequency. So again, I have the limiter of compression on, and I also have a parametric EQ. Now you can see this is completely different, the bands that I'm using here. I've got everything below 150 muted in terms of the frequencies. And then I have it just a little bit raised. Well, not, I wouldn't say raised, but it's below normal, below zero, between 200 and about 600, I'd say. Okay, and I did that because when you hear the music on a phone, let's say you're playing the music on a phone and you're using a sub bass sound, the sub bass is so deep and so low that you can't really hear it on like a phone. You can only hear it with a subwoofer. So I wanted to use a bass with higher frequencies so that when you're listening to the song on a phone or something that doesn't have a lot of bass in it, you can still hear the bass sound. Okay, so then we have, let's see, all of the percussion sounds besides the drum. So this is my hi-hats. Oh, there's one hi-hat. I'm not getting in there. There we go. These are all of my hi-hat. My hi-hats, the snare, and there's also a kick lift that I have in there. It kind of accentuates the kick. Okay, so I'm going to isolate the clap sound. And looks like this is actually under Halion Sonic, which is owned by Steinberg Wavelab. So Halion Sonic, I have this, let's see, right here in my mixer channel. I'm going to bring it up. I've got a parametric EQ on this sound, and I've got it raised at about 500 hertz, and again at about, I'd say, 1500 hertz. I also have a reverb on there. I have raised the high cut all the way up. I left the low cut where it is. And I turned down the decay and raised up the wet sound a little bit and kind of lowered the dry sound a little bit. So that's for the clap snare. And then I'm going to show you my hi-hats. I'm going to isolate those. So there's two, there's one left and there's one right. So I've got a delay on them, on both of them, and I also have reverb on them. And it's pretty much the same reverb that is on the clap that I just showed you. Then we will go over to, let's see, my arpeggio. I love this sound. This sound is actually from Omnisphere. I've got a limiter on it. This one, the ratio is 3.0, and I believe I turned it down to 18 or 19 with the threshold. I've also got a parametric EQ on it, and you can see that the bands are, I really manipulated the bands. So everything below 100 is muted. Oops, let's go back to that. Everything below 100 is muted, and then between 100 and 200, I brought it down about 3/4 of the way. I'm sorry, about a third of the way, rather. I've got it raised at about 250, 300. I've also got it raised again around, I'd say 700. I've got it lowered between 1,000 and 2,000. Now, the reason why I did that is because that's where the vocals lie. That's where the human ear hears the voice. The human voice is between 1,000 and 2,000. So I've lowered it in there for the mix. And I've also got it raised again at about a little above 2,000. That's for that arpeggio sound. So I will play the music again so you can hear it. I'll start from the beginning. I've also got a guitar sound in there too. The guitar sound panned left and right, but it's lowered on the right side a little bit, and the arpeggio that I just played for you is raised on that right side, and that's so that you can isolate the sounds and hear them distinctly. So just to show you my guitar, the parametric EQ, and compare it, let me stop this, I'm going to compare it with that arpeggio. You can see the two. They have their own frequencies, but with the guitar, it's kind of a deeper sound, so I was able to raise it in certain areas that doesn't conflict with where I raised it in with the arpeggio. So with the guitar, I raised it between 200 and 500, whereas with the arpeggio, I raised it between 500 and 1,000 hertz. So that allows a distinction of the sounds. You can hear both sounds clearly in the mix. Okay, so let's go on to the next part.
I am yours, yours, yours. There's no pretending 'cause you want me and I want you too. We're gonna make it 'cause you need me and I need you too.
Okay, so here we've got synth sounds, which I'm going to mute for you. And I'm going to show you the EQs that I have set up for these. So you'll hear a little bell. So I have the band set up on the bell sound, and I'm going to loop this so that you can hear it. So with the parametric EQ that I have on that bell sound, I've got it lowered between 1,000 and 2,000 again. And I've got it raised right between 500 and 1,000. Now remember, I don't have those other sounds, the arpeggio, I don't have that in here. So I could, do along the same lines of the frequencies that I had in the arpeggio here. And then for that synth sound, which sounds like this, very angelic, I have that isolated, again, lowered between 1,000 and 2,000 because that's where the vocals go. And I have it raised almost right at 1,000. So on the upper side between 500 and 1,000. And then lowered below, everything below about 150. And the same with that bell sound. Okay? So let's bring the music back in. And we'll start with the chorus again.
There's no pretending 'cause you want me and I want you to. We're gonna make it 'cause you need me and I need you too. Let's see how far we can take this, yeah, yeah, yeah. 'Cause I want you and you want me.
Okay, so very important. Now I want to look at the vocals. Because the key to mixing vocals, depending on whether you're working with a male singer or a female singer, the frequencies that you're using in the EQ is very important when it comes to the overall mix down. So for me in particular, female vocals, I tend to go, my range, it's not too wide per se, but I do tend to go up a little bit, and then I tend to go really low a little bit. So you don't want to have the same parametric EQ applied when you're singing really high, really loud, and then singing quietly and low. You want two different EQs for that. And then there's in between too, and you need another EQ for that as well. So let's take a look at it. So we'll isolate the lead vocals here.
There's no pretending 'cause you want me and I want you too. We're gonna make it 'cause you need me and I need you too. Let's see how far we can take this, yeah, yeah, yeah. 'Cause I want you and you want me.
So it started in the middle. It started in mid-range. I wouldn't say soprano. I'd say more alto is where it started in. And I'll play it again.
There's no pretending 'cause you want me and I want you too.
Goes a little bit up to soprano range. And then all of a sudden it goes up to soprano where I'm singing, really loud. And that's over here.
We're gonna make it 'cause you need me and I need you too.
Right here.
Let's see how far we can take this, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So let's go back. So for the mid-range,
there's no pretending 'cause you want me and I want you too.
so here's the EQ for that. I have everything lowered below 200 hertz. I have it lowered between 500 and 1,000 in the middle, and then I have it just slightly raised between 1,000 and 2,000 hertz, and then lowered again in the middle between 2,000 and 5,000 hertz. The reason why I do that with between the 2,000 and 5,000 hertz is because my voice, the frequencies are so high that they really attack really loud in that range, and it's piercing. So I have to lower it down there so that it's not piercing in the overall mixdown. So that's the parametric EQ for that part. Then we have it where it gets kind of loud and high.
Let's see how far we can take this, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to bring up the parametric EQ there and have it over on the right side over here. And you'll see it looks a little different from the previous vocal that I played. So again, this is lowered, because it's higher. I have it lowered between 100 and 200 hertz also, but more towards the 100 side because again, this is higher, and I don't want to lose out on the bass that plays in my vocal. I don't want to cut that out. Then again, I have it lowered a little bit more between 500 and 1,000 hertz, just a little bit more. I have a little more isolated between 1,000 and 2,000 hertz, only because, again, I don't want it to be piercing in the overall mix. Then I have it significantly lowered between 2,000 and 5,000 hertz, and that's, again, because I'm singing so loud and so high, I don't want it to pierce, my vocals to be piercing, because, look, when I sing loud and high, I mean, my vocals are very piercing. They can be, especially if used with the wrong kind of microphone. So then, towards the end of it, it kind of gets low again.
Yeah, 'cause I want you and you want me.
So it gets low there. So I kind of use the same EQ balance that I did on the first part where it was kind of mid-range. This is more kind of going more towards the lower range. But I have it lowered slightly at 200 hertz, whereas in the mid-range I had it at 0. So here it's probably at about 39%, whereas the first part, the mid-range, was at 0%. And then I have it kind of lowered, between 2,000 and 5,000 hertz, and slightly raised between 1,000 and 2,000 hertz. And then again lowered at about 200, whereas the mid-range was lowered between between 500 and 1,000. So that's pretty much it with my EQ. These are things that I have learned on the tutorials on FL Studio Image Line's website. You can go there as well. They give some pretty good tutorials. I wanted to show you what it sounds like when I do mine. So I'm going to stop here. It's already been about over 20 minutes. And I'm going to leave you with the full song so you can hear how it's mixed properly and you can hear all the different sounds in it. So for now, happy mixing, happy writing, happy producing, and I hope to see you guys soon. Take care. Bye.